Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub. Today I'm joined by FBL Salah to review Game Week 27, where Abdul scored an absolute monster score. Finally, a huge green arrow, before getting into the preview of Game Week 28 and seeing just what Abdul has in his plans for transfers and captaincy. First of all, Abdul, how are you? I'm happy to be chatting to you after an amazing week for yourself.
Yeah, I know it's not been good the past few weeks, has it, Jack? So yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 reds in a row, and then finally got a good one, and it seems like the wild card picks are now starting to pay off. So let's hope it continues.
I think it's very deserved personally, mate, because you've had some bad luck, and you've clearly picked good players, but it doesn't always work like that, does it?
Yeah. I mean, if you take out like the freak Liverpool result last game week, the wild card I think is still a fine decision. But obviously, I mean, like clawed a few of those points back this week. But yeah, it's still annoying that Game Week 26 wildcard when Liverpool went ballistic.
What can you do? Anyway, let's get into your team.
Yeah.
Let's get into your points, because you scored an unbelievable 105 points. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think, it was a good score. I think like most people who wildcarded in Game Week 26, 27, got around about that score. I'd say about 95 to 100 odd. I think the real winners were the bench boosters. I had like 26 points on my bench.
Yeah.
The likes of Gabriel, Odegaard, returning. So yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, I don't regret not using the bench boost, because I did plan for it in 26, using 29. But yeah, I think the real winners this week were the bench boosters.
You don't regret using it. Were you ever considering using it? And is there, looking at the points that are on your bench now, in hindsight, does a part of you think that maybe your reasoning might have been wrong for not using it? Or are you still, like the 26 wildcard, pretty set that was a good decision?
Yeah, I mean, I did consider the 27 bench boost when I was doing the wildcard, but the only reason I didn't was because I just found that they had. I mean, I think I probably overestimated Fulham, because I did think that Fulham fixture wasn't going to be easy for Arsenal, so that was the main reason why I went against it. And I thought, the 29 bench boost, looking at the fixtures is a lot better, but playing the bench boost, in Game Week 27 right after the wild card is, it's a lot safer in that sense. Whereas, so much can happen between now and Game Week 29. But so it was in my thoughts. But I mean, I guess, it wasn't like a 50-50 to call. I mean, I think I considered it, and then when I looked at the fixtures and thought, I've got too many single game weekers, and I did think, Fulham would get a goal in that game. I did think Arsenal. I thought Arsenal would win, but yeah, just one of those. Is hindsight. I mean, again, playing the bench boost in Game Week 27 was a totally fine play. The guys who planned for it, knew exactly what they're doing, and obviously, it didn't look good for them in Game Week 26 when Sanchez got benched. But then, obviously, I think a lot of them transferred to Steele, and then he got a nice big score as well. So yeah, let's hope the 29 bench boost, at least doubles that score.
Yeah, true. The only thing that I would say personally is maybe we didn't give enough credence to Palhinha being out and just how impactful he is on that Fulham team. There's an amazing stat, which is something like he has made 50 something. I don't know the exact numbers. I do apologize, guys. He's made something like 50 or over 50 tackles, and the next highest number of tackles in the league is in the 20s. So he's made almost double the amount of tackles as the next highest tackling player in the league. That's an amazing stat. Maybe we should have given a bit more thought, but
I think
as you say, 29 looks good.
Yeah. I did think about the Palhinha thing, but honestly, I didn't give it much consideration. Maybe maybe I should have, but yeah, let's see.
I don't think so. It's just one of those things, isn't it? And you can never expect Gabriel really to get 14 points.
Honestly, I knew it was going to happen. It was one of those things where I thought the game, I've been waiting for that bullet header all season.
Yeah.
And the game week that we bench him, he gets it.
So cruel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's briefly talk about your Brentford and Brighton players quickly before we get into your team for the upcoming game week. Great captain decision, although pretty much all the doublers did really well for you this week.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have made much difference, which one of them I captained. Obviously, I'm glad I did pick Tony, who scored the highest, but it was 13 for Tony, 12 for Matoma, 11 for March. Obviously, it should have been a lot more for March.
Yeah,
that controversy. Oh man, that was that was annoying. But It is what it is, and I'm happy, really happy with this Estupian. I was most happy with my Brentford defenders with Ray and Henry, because I thought I really wasn't sure of a clean sheet in that second game. I thought they would keep the clean sheet against Everton. I think I didn't think they'd keep on against Saints. With them kind of being the relegation battle and being at home. But yeah, they were the lowest owned as well in my team, so that really helped.
Final point from me on that March goal.
Yeah.
Do you think, in retrospect now, this is not the first time that this has happened?
Yeah.
Do you think that now that March has officially been given the goal, and he was given the goal during the game week, points were still being accrued. That was before he played against his second fixture of the double. Do you think those points should have been retrospectively added, or do you think the rule should now be changed? What do you reckon?
Well, the thing is, right, the rules state that the points won't be updated after, more than an hour after the game. So on that basis, I don't think they should have added the goal, because it's in the rules. Although I do believe that rule is not a good rule. They should definitely change it next season, because obviously we found out this season, how kind of ridiculous that rule is actually. When it comes down to it. So according to the rules, it shouldn't be changed. I know FPL have kind of bent the rules in previous situations. With the Suarez assist. I've seen people commenting about that, etc. But the thing is, when you keep on bending the rules, I think if you fair enough, they did bend the rules maybe the last time, but to do it again, I don't think two wrongs make a right. So I think by the rules of the game, they shouldn't have been added, but they should definitely change that rule, because obviously, he got given that goal, and we were in the game week. There's no reason why he shouldn't have got that goal. And yeah, it's a tough one, because for owners as well, especially for people who captained him, that's a hefty chunk of points.
Especially given, as you say, that he was a big differential last week. It's a weird one, isn't it? I think the game week is still going on.
Yeah,
points are going to be added from players that haven't played games yet, but they didn't add the points. I get it, but that is the rules.
What do you think?
Currently.
What do you think they should have done?
I think they should have done exactly what they did. Those are the rules.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
The thing that I don't like about fantasy is when they don't stick to the rules. Like the Edison assist. I don't own Edison. That's just an assist. You can't. That's just not up for debate.
The Trent one as well. The Trent one was an assist as well. Trent Alexander.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like if they start bending the rules at every opportunity, then it sets a precedent, doesn't it? It's like where do they stop? I think it's good, but I think they should obviously learn from this, and hopefully they change the rules next season.
Yeah, I think they just need to just bring a rule change in, as you say. All right then, great score, as I said. Really good big green arrow finally, well deserved. Because it's been a weird season for the majority of it. Anyway, let's get into your team for the upcoming game week now, game week 28, and just run me through it pretty much back to front. What do you think is looking good about this team? Are you still happy with it from the 26 wildcard? Who are you going to transfer out? Because as it stands, you currently have 9 playing players, and then finally, captaincy.
Yeah, so I think the team is pretty decent. Thing is, I've got all the main players. I've got Kane, I've got Tony, and I've got 3 Arsenal, and I've got 2 Newcastle defenders. So I think in terms of all the best players I've pretty much got. The main kind of dilemma I've got this week is I've got 2 free transfers, so I'm not sure whether to use them 2 free transfers or just use the one. My initial plans were just to do Haaland to Watkins this week. That was planned from when I wildcarded in game week 26.
Yeah.
And then I was going to go in with 10 players this game week. Have 2 free transfers for game week 29 because we've got an international break and things can happen. And then obviously I'm going to bench boost that week as well. But I am really, really tempted to do Estupiñán to Chilwell. Reason being is that he seems to be back fit now. When I was when I made my wildcard squad, I didn't think about this transfer because he was just back fit, and then obviously last game week he scored as well. Well, not that last game week, the game week before. No, sorry, it was last game week. So he's came onto the radar. He's played the last 3 games in the league, and he's played the last 6 overall. So he seems fit now. So he has become an option now, and he's got a game against Everton at home this week, and then he's got a decent double in 29 against Aston Villa and Liverpool at home. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So obviously, if I do that, that'll be 11 players. But then I would have to kind of change my plans for game week 29 because I did plan to bring in Shaw and Bruno for Odegaard and Gabriel. But then I'd have to go for Madison instead of Bruno, and then obviously, when getting rid of Gabriel, I would have to take a hit. So essentially, if I make that move this week, it's a -4. So yeah, I'm really uncertain. I think it's quite a close call because obviously Chilwell, with the fixtures he's got, and with the kind of caliber of player he is, I do think he could very well score more than 4 points, more than 4 points than Stupinen in the next 3 games.
It's a really tough one, isn't it? I really don't even know myself where I'm leading towards this. Let's just start with the Haaland to Watkins move.
Yeah.
How likely are you to do that? That's always been the plan.
That's nailed. That's 100%.
That's nailed. Okay, right.
Unless we obviously find out that Watkins is injured, etc. But that's nailed because I've got a plan to get Haaland back in game week 30.
Okay.
So, I'm getting 3 fixtures for Watkins over Haaland's 1, and that's against Liverpool. So, you've got to play the odds in that one. I know Haaland is Haaland. I know he scored 5 goals in midweek against Leipzig, but you've got to back Watkins, with those 3 fixtures against Haaland's 1. So that's 100%. And then obviously to get Haaland back in game week 30.
And why Watkins? Why not Iheanacho? Why not Havertz?
Well, I've considered both. The reason I've gone, Iheanacho wasn't really in my thoughts, but he just doesn't seem to get enough minutes. I think Brendan seems to kind of, sub him off a lot around about 70, 75. Also on top of that, in the last game, Daka started up front, and then Iheanacho started on the left, in Barnes' position, and then Daka scored. So I don't know, when Barnes comes back, then he's got a lot more competition. And then in the past we've seen as well, Brendan Rodgers, doesn't hesitate to bench Iheanacho, in any given opportunity. So yeah, so that I've gone off the boil. I've really gone cold on Iheanacho. I really love him as a player and an FPL asset, and he's a great price point as well, 6.1. He allows so much flexibility. So for that reason, I've kind of gone off Iheanacho. With Havertz, I just think with Watkins, I think he's nailed for more minutes. And they both got penalties, but Watkins' underlying stats, are a bit better than Havertz's. So yeah, and I do think Villa's fixtures are slightly better than Chelsea's.
Yeah, I think for me as a Chelsea fan, I would lean definitely more towards Chilwell than Havertz. Not saying Havertz is not a good pick, but Watkins is right there. Like, he's the obvious pick for a reason. He has really good stats, and he's also in just excellent form as well. He's just playing really, really well at the moment. Not to say Havertz isn't, but Havertz has had just a couple of good games. Before that, there were massive cries for Potter to bench him and rest him and just get him out of the 11. So, yeah, for me, I'm definitely looking at Watkins.
Do you think Havertz starts the 2 games in 30? Yeah.
Havertz is a 90-minute man, which
a
lot of people maybe don't realise. But apart from just that one off game the other week, he plays 90 minutes, and because we don't really have anyone else in that position that can come in for him up top, he if you look at his numbers, he really doesn't get subbed that often at all. So the numbers game to game, or like in an individual game, personally, I don't see as much of a risk. But as you say, when we get to the next round, the Champions League rotation, that is where you don't know,
isn't it? Yeah,
and that's just not the case for Watkins. The interesting one for me is the Estupiñán to Chilwell move, because that looks like a great move. As you say, it's going to be a -4 down the line. What's your thinking on definitely doing that move compared to not doing it and then having 10 players, or doing something else like selling a Brighton midfielder to a Maddison, something like that? Why are you leaning towards the Estupiñán move?
Because I think the Brighton midfielders are too good value. I think that the defense is good, but it's not as essential as the midfielders.
Okay.
And there's better, there's good value in the defense, like Chilwell. Even possibly Reece James as well. If he gets fit. So I just feel that the midfielders at those price points are, with the doubles coming up as well. I think we've got 2 more doubles coming up in the next 3 or 4 game weeks. So I'd rather have the attack than the defense. And
Mm.
also, one thing I forgot to mention was that taking Estupiñán out for Chilwell this week also allows me to go for McAllister,
Yeah.
and get the three Brentford midfielders, which I don't mind at all because we've seen how attacking they are. We've seen, they're the three midfielders who are involved in the goals. We've seen that this week. We've seen it the week before. So they're a great option. They're a great trio to have. So that's another kind of advantage in taking Estupiñán out for Chilwell as well, because it does give me the option. And then obviously bringing in McAllister instead of a Maddison or Bruno, leaves me plenty of money in the bank,
Mm.
to get Haaland back.
It's a really, really interesting point because I know for me right now, I'm going to have to sell Kane, I think, to get him back, to get Haaland back in 30, which
Mm.
obviously isn't ideal, especially with Tony's incoming ban. And I'd love to be able to do Tony back to Haaland and getting, for me, Mitoma in for the three Brighton midfielders
Yeah,
would
yeah,
allow that.
the Tony yellow card is an interesting one because that's really, really kind of put me off making that second move for Estupiñán to Chilwell, because if he gets a yellow card in against Leicester, then he's out for the 2 games in the
Yeah.
double, and then having 2 free transfers if that happens is going to be crucial. So yeah, that's another very interesting point. And that's something else which is really making me think about using that second transfer on the Estupiñán.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest, I was talking about the gambling ban, but you're right, like the yellow card is a much more pressing issue that could happen. Well, yeah, as you say, in the very next game.
Yeah.
Okay, then captaincy, because this week is pretty close. Who are you leaning towards right now?
At the moment, I'm leaning towards Saka.
Oh wow, I did
Yeah,
not expect you to say that. Okay,
Oh, did you think I was going to say Kane?
I did.
I mean, the reason I've gone Saka is because I think in FPL, midfielders score more points, for goals, but I don't see that Southampton fixture being an easy game for Spurs. But I wouldn't be surprised if that ends 0-0, or it's like a low scoring game, whereas I can't really see Arsenal scoring less than 2 goals against Crystal Palace. And Saka, he's got 90 minutes, he's got penalties. Again, we'll see. I think they play tonight, don't they, Arsenal? So
Yeah,
we'll obviously see, how many minutes he plays tonight as well. Obviously, injuries could happen, etc., etc. So we'll see. But at the moment, it's on Saka, and I just prefer him this week because I think they've got the much better fixture, and I think he's got a bit better chance to attack in returns.
yeah. Wow. I'll be honest. A lot of my thinking was based on Tony yesterday and him just playing well and having some good chances, and he's the focal point of that Brentford attack against Southampton. I was kind of using him as a little bit of a trial run for Kane, and he did well.
Oh, so
I'm not sure.
are you Captain Tony?
No, as in Tony played Southampton yesterday
Right, okay,
and did well, and I was thinking in my head, if he does well, and let's see what sort of chances fall to him, or like what kind of
Yeah,
positions he gets in with decent chances, and I don't know, it's a tough one. Kane is just nailed. Whereas the points of Arsenal have been spread quite a lot recently. Obviously, Saka hasn't. This is recency bias, of course, but past couple of game weeks, Saka's not been doing it as much as the other Arsenal players. That's just my kind of thinking.
Yeah,
Whereas if
and
Tottenham score, it's going to be Kane, really.
yeah. I mean, it's close, but the thing is, I mean, I guess you need to look at for me as well. I need to. I mean, Kane's gonna be the highest captain for sure this week.
Do you think that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
for sure. I think. I mean, I think one of the reasons being is that he scored 2 goals last week and Saka blanked as well. So I
Yeah.
do think he'll be the highest captain, and I think it's a good opportunity for people like myself who aren't ranked, where I want to be, to kind of take a small kind of a small risk on the captain on a lesser kind of own player. But I mean, I do think, I mean, for me, I think at the moment Saka is slightly ahead of Kane. In terms of like expected points, I would put Saka ahead. But yeah, I mean, again, that could change after tonight's game, depending on what happens.
Yeah, we've spoken, haven't we, about what point do you push, what point do you go a little bit more risky with the captaincy, and this seems, as you say, like the perfect week because it's just not even a risk because it's pretty much a 50-50. So yeah,
Even last week, I mean, with the Brighton midfielders and Tony, I mean, that was a relatively low risk kind of game week as well. But I get, I ended up just going Tony because I did think I thought he was going to score over 2 games. So Yeah, so there's plenty of opportunities. I mean, look, you saw. I mean, I was at a 400k and a half in my rank, just by going with the obvious captain and the
Yeah.
obvious players. So there is still opportunity to you don't have to start going gung ho just yet. I mean, we've still got plenty of games to play.
Okay, then. So as it stands, the team is looking incredibly strong. A game week rating of 96%. Again, we're seeing the benefits of that wild card in 26, although we didn't get them in 26 itself, unfortunately. But we did this game week, so can't have too many complaints there, I guess. Although really, you kind of can. As for transfers right now, Abdul, you're not entirely sure, so we're gonna have to wait for your team reveal on the Fantasy Football Hub website, which will be on Friday, tomorrow. And the link to that is down in the description. What sort of time do you normally make your transfers? Are you just before the deadline sort of person?
Yeah, usually the night before, or well, the deadline's tomorrow, so I'll probably do yeah.
Good point.
Yes, Newcastle game. So this week I'll probably make my transfers on Friday, just for the like maybe a couple hours for the deadline. I mean, I always, if I could wait until the deadline, I would do that, just in case. I mean, I don't. If you can wait until the deadline, I don't see why you shouldn't. So usually it's like a day before deadline, or on the actual day. But but for this week it'll be on Friday.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for reminding me, because I may well have forgotten that. So thank you very much.
It'd be a disaster. I think you've got your team set anyway, don't you? So it should be okay.
That's true. But I do need to make some transfers.
I need to make the transfer, yeah.
Watkins is coming in for me, no doubt about that. And personally, I'm just not sure right now where I stand on the second transfer. As you say, there's so much opportunity cost with that transfer.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And obviously looking, as we did on the My Team tool, seeing how that's going to affect future game weeks is very important. And yeah, it's a strange one, because as you say, Chilwell in right now for free is a -4. Does that mean you can't get Shaw in? Does that mean you can't get Bruno in, who we all thought was nailed for that 29, maybe even a captaincy in 29?
Yeah.
But
just final point as well, like having 2 free transfers over an international break is always important, but having 2 free transfers over an international break and then on the weekend about to bench boost, just kind of amplifies that. So yeah, I think I think actually the more I talk about it, the more I'm kind of moving away from making that second transfer, to be honest. But let's see.
This is something that I feel like I'm beginning to learn with fantasy, is that a lot of the time sacrificing points in the immediate term is actually beneficial down the line. And something that obviously, in that we see it a lot with don't take points hits, it's not necessary. But even the fact of, like, you look at 2 players and one of them has a better fixture this week than the other, but then after that week it kind of switches and the other has a better fixture and a better run. Like, my just short-term thinking has never been very good at just selecting the player that has long-term better fixtures.
Yeah.
And in this regard, it might be better to just hold and not take the immediate points.
I mean, I think that's personally the hardest thing to do. As an FPL manager, I think having that patience, is some. I was exactly the same as you, like, when I first started playing. But you realize as the more you play, and I think that is the hardest kind of skill, you'd say, to implement, is having that patience, and keeping that player, especially when the player that you're looking at has a high ownership, etc., etc. But it pays off.
Well, there we go. That is going to do it for this one. Abdul, best of luck this game week. Team's looking really good, as you'd hope. And guys, as you've seen as well, we've gone through the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool and had a little bit of a play around with 29 as well, looking at how that bench boost looks. If you want to get involved in that yourself and plug your team in and just see how it's looking and put in potential transfers like Chilwell, Watkins, etc., whatever you want to do, the link to do that is down in the description. Abdul, thank you very much once again. And we'll see you all next week with another preview.